Thanks for joining us again on Real Talk English with Anna and Jake, your home for natural conversations.
We've got a packed episode today that's going to help you sound way more like a local.
I want to start today's episode with a very specific feeling. I want you to imagine you're at a dinner party. The people around you are speaking English, you're listening, and you understand almost everything. You are nodding, you're smiling, you have a great joke in your head that you want to tell. You have an opinion on the topic they are discussing, but you sit there in silence. You wait for a pause in the conversation, but when the pause comes, your throat closes up, you stay quiet. The conversation moves on, and you feel like a ghost.
That is a painful description because I have lived that exact moment 100 times. We call this intermediate purgatory. It is that frustrating middle ground where you know enough to understand, but you do not know enough or you aren't brave enough to participate.
Exactly. And that is what we are dedicating this entire episode to. We are not talking about grammar rules today. We are talking about why you are stuck in the passive trap and how to finally break out of it.
It feels like a betrayal. That is the only word I can use. I have spent years studying. I have watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. I have apps on my phone that I use every day. If you gave me a reading test, I would pass it easily. But the moment I have to open my mouth in a real situation, my brain just empties. It is like someone wiped the hard drive.
You are touching on the fundamental problem here. Most of our listeners are what I call professional students. They are experts at studying English, but they are novices at being English speakers.
What is the difference?
A student collects information. They hoard words like collector's items. They want to get the answer right on the test. A speaker, on the other hand, uses the language as a tool to survive and connect. The skills required to pass a test are completely different from the skills required to hold a conversation in a noisy bar.
So, we have trained our brains to recognize words, but not to produce them.
Precisely. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a library in your head. For most intermediate learners, the input section of that library is huge. You have thousands of books, words you recognize when you hear them, but the output section, the books you can actually take off the shelf and hand to someone else, is a tiny room in the back.
That makes sense. My passive vocabulary is massive. I can watch movies without subtitles sometimes, but my active vocabulary, the words I can find when I'm nervous, is tiny. It feels like I'm a sophisticated adult in my head, but a child when I speak.
That identity gap is the root of the anxiety. You're intelligent, you have complex thoughts in your native language, but when you switch to English, you lose your personality, you lose your wit, you become a simplified version of yourself, and your ego hates that.
My ego definitely hates it. I avoid speaking because I don't want people to think I'm stupid. I would rather stay silent and look mysterious than speak and sound like I don't know what I'm talking about.
And that is the trap. Silence feels safe, but silence is the enemy of fluency. Every time you choose silence, you reinforce the fear. You're telling your brain, speaking is dangerous. We survived by staying quiet. We need to rewire that survival mechanism.
So how do we start bridging this gap? Because I cannot stay in this purgatory forever. It is exhausting.
The first step is admitting that input is not enough. There is a popular theory that if you just listen to enough English, eventually you will just start speaking. For adults, that is rarely true. You can listen for 10 years and still be mute. You have to cross the physical barrier of moving your mouth.
I want to talk about the mechanics of why we freeze. For me, it is the translation process. Someone asks me a question. First, I hear the English. Then I translate it into my native language to make sure I understood. Then I formulate my answer in my native language. Then I try to translate that answer back into English. And finally, I try to speak.
That is 4 steps. A conversation happens in milliseconds. If you're doing 4 steps while the other person is doing 1, you will always be behind. By the time you have your sentence ready, the topic has changed.
Exactly. And then I get frustrated and give up.
We need to eliminate the middleman. We need to cut out your native language. This is what people mean when they say think in English.
People say that all the time. Just think in English. But how? It is not a switch I can just flip.
You are right. It is not a switch. It is a habit you have to build. You start small. You don't start by debating philosophy in your head. You start by narrating your life.
Narrating my life?
Yes, when you are alone, look around the room, name the objects you see, but do it directly in English. Do not think of the word in your language first. Look at the lamp and think lamp. Look at the table and think table.
That sounds too simple.
It is simple, but you are training your brain to associate the object directly with the English word. Once you can do objects, you move to actions. I'm making coffee. I'm opening the door. I'm looking for my keys.
So I should be talking to myself like a crazy person all day?
Absolutely. If you aren't talking to yourself, you aren't practicing enough. Most learners only speak English when they are in a class or a meeting. That is maybe 1 or 2 hours a week. That is not enough. You need to be speaking English to yourself while you brush your teeth, while you drive, while you cook.
I tried this once, but I got stuck because I didn't know a specific word. I was trying to describe my cooking, and I didn't know the word for spatula, so I stopped.
That brings us to a crucial skill, circumlocution.
Circum what?
Circumlocution, it means talking around the word you don't know. This is what fluent speakers do when they forget a word. They don't freeze, they describe it.
So if I don't know spatula, what should I say?
You say the tool I use to flip the eggs or the flat kitchen thing.
The flat kitchen thing. That sounds terrible.
It sounds communicative, and that is the goal. Your goal is not to be a dictionary. Your goal is to transfer an idea from your head to someone else's head. If you say the flat kitchen thing and I understand you, you have succeeded.
I think that is my problem. I am a perfectionist. If I can't find the perfect word, I prefer to say nothing.
Perfectionism is the highest wall you have to climb. You have to be willing to speak ugly English.
Ugly English.
Yes, broken grammar, wrong prepositions, simple vocabulary. You have to embrace it. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. We restart sentences. We say and we use the wrong words. But we keep moving. Learners are obsessed with accuracy, so they sacrifice flow. I want you to sacrifice accuracy to gain flow.
Okay, let's talk about the physical aspect. Sometimes I know the words and I'm ready to speak, but my mouth just feels clumsy. It feels like my tongue is too big for my mouth.
That is because speaking a language is a physical sport. English requires different mouth shapes than your native language. If you don't train those muscles, they will be weak.
So how do we go to the gym for our mouths?
Shadowing, we talk about this a lot, but few people do it correctly. Shadowing is not just listening, it is repeating simultaneously or just a split second after the speaker. You're trying to copy their muscle movements.
It is really hard to keep up.
It is supposed to be hard, but here's a drill we can do right now. It is called the back chain method. This helps when you stumble over long sentences.
How does it work?
You start at the end of the sentence and work backward. Let's take a sentence, I would have called you if I had known. That is a grammatically complex sentence.
Yeah, the conditionals are a nightmare.
So let's break it down backward. Repeat after me. Known had known. If I had known, called you, would have called you. I would have called you if I had known.
Wow, that actually makes it easier to find the rhythm.
It tricks your brain. By starting at the end, you get the intonation right before you add the complex grammar at the beginning.
And intonation is huge. I feel like when I speak like a robot, people don't understand me, even if my grammar is perfect.
English is a stress-timed language. The music matters more than the individual vowels. If you get the music wrong, native speakers struggle to process what you're saying. We eat our words, we squash them together.
Like, what are you going to do becomes what you gonna do?
Exactly. If you try to pronounce every letter, what are you? You sound unnatural and it is physically difficult to say fast. You have to learn the reductions. Gonna, wanna, lemme. These aren't slang. They are survival tools for speaking at speed.
I want to give the listeners something practical for when they do freeze, because it will happen. I can be confident, I can practice shadowing, but eventually I will walk into a meeting and my mind will go blank. What do I do in that emergency?
You need a survival kit of filler phrases.
Most teachers tell us not to use fillers. They say don't say or ah.
And are bad if you use them every second, but structured fillers are amazing. They buy you time to think. They signal to the other person, I'm not finished speaking, please wait, my brain is buffering.
My brain is buffering. I love that.
Here are 3 power fillers you need to memorize. Use these when you're stuck. Number 1, that's a good question. Let me think about that for a second.
That buys you a solid 5 seconds.
And it makes you look thoughtful and intelligent. You aren't panicking, you're considering. Number 2, how do I put this?
I hear native speakers use this all the time.
It means I have the idea, but I am searching for the right words. It invites the listener to be patient with you. Number 3, what's the word I'm looking for?
You can say that out loud.
Yes, it is honest. Instead of standing there in awkward silence, narrate your struggle. It's, oh, what is the word I'm looking for? It's the thing you cook with.
And usually the other person will help you. They will say spatula, and the conversation continues.
Exactly. Conversation is a cooperative game. It is not a tennis match where you're trying to beat the other person. You are building something together. If you stumble, they will catch you, but only if you communicate that you need help.
We have covered a lot today. We talked about the passive trap, the identity gap, narrating your life, and the survival kit. But information without action is just entertainment.
Correct. You cannot think your way to fluency. You have to speak your way there. So we have a challenge for you this week.
The low stakes challenge.
I want you to go into the world or onto the internet if you're not in an English-speaking country and have a micro interaction.
Define micro interaction.
Ask someone the time. Ask someone where the train station is. Leave a voice note for a friend. But here's the rule. You are not allowed to rehearse it in your head first.
That is scary.
You have to trust that the words are there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, speak. Do not give your brain time to translate. Do not give your affective filter time to build the wall.
And if you make a mistake,
Celebrate it. If you make a mistake, it means you spoke. That is a victory. The only failure is silence.
I am going to try this. Next time I order coffee, I am not going to rehearse the order. I'm just going to walk up and say it.
Let us know how it goes. Join our community and share your ugly English stories. We want to hear about the mistakes, the awkward moments, and the wins.
Thank you for listening to this deep dive. Remember, you're closer to fluency than you think. You just need to unlock the door.
That's all for today, but we can't wait to see you next time on Real Talk English.